Okay, we are live on Facebook now. Welcome to everyone who's just now joining. Just a few more minutes before we get started. It's really such a pleasure to be here with all of you, this international event. Just a reminder, we do have a number of different languages, translating in Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, Russian. So please click on the world thing there. Hopefully right now you may not be hearing anything because the translators may not be translating me, but as soon as Osel comes back in just a few minutes, we will get started. Until then, it's just me, so just a few more moments.
Nicole, Osel is here.
Okay. Thanks, Cecilia. Osel, is your mic open? I think in order for your video to come up, we need to have you speaking and unmuted. So I want to make sure you're unmuted, but I can't find you. Oh, there you are.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Osel, welcome. Such a pleasure to have you here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And you?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Great. Great.
You in Spain?
Yeah, in Spain, 6 o'clock, 6 in the afternoon.
Okay.
It's already dark right now.
And cold, quite cold there, huh?
We have a fire going, but I still have to wear the jacket because we just started the fire. So gradually I'll take off the jacket later on. Wow. So hello, Miami. How are you, everybody? Good to see you. I can't hear anybody, but I can imagine. I can hear actually somehow, maybe feeling.
Yes, sorry. Okay, so 12 o'clock, we will start promptly to make a use of all of our time here with you. So thank you so much and welcome for accepting this invitation to share with us some of your wisdom and knowledge through your experience, your own experience of life and time as a monk, time as a father, as a humanitarian, as a friend, as a filmmaker. So many wonderful things. And we are so honored to have this time with you. So thank you so much from the depths of my heart on behalf of Tubten Kunga Ling. Also now you're a director, so how wonderful to serve. More opportunities to practice, right? So just a brief bio on you, Osel, if I may share. We're recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama at the age of 14 months old as the incarnation of very revered and honored Tibetan yogi, Lama Tubten Yeshe. And now sharing with the world all of your own experiences And we really thank you for your kindness in doing so, because clearly, as you see here now, we want to hear from you, and your words of wisdoms touch our hearts, and they help us guide us along our paths as we continue to struggle and fall down and get back up. So really appreciate you taking the time to come here, and for all of the translators that are so kind in making this available on an international audience. So we have a few questions that we have received from students that Rebecca, our spiritual program coordinator, will be asking from you to answer. And we'll go through those, and then at about 12:45, we'll open it up to taking questions, from the audience. So if people do have questions, feel free to write them to SPC TKL. And also, we will do our best to monitor the chat to make sure that things are working smoothly there. We'll also do some prayers. So I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca right now. Thank you, Osel. Nice to see you. And thank you, Rebecca.
Tenzin, Osel, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, 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 you're here. We've been so looking forward to it, and we appreciate it so, so much. We do have some questions, as Nicole mentioned, and as people submit their questions via chat, if you do not want your name mentioned, please make a note of that. And if a question comes up that's relevant to the topic we're discussing, we may slip in the audience question then. So, but before we dive into the questions, Tenzin, Osel, would you be so kind as to lead us in a motivation and the refuge prayer?
상해 제가 저기 전함나 창조 바르도니 계시지 나게 진소기 선함이 돌아 편제 상해 두바라쇼 상해 최강 저기 전함나 창조 바르도니 계시지 나게 진소기 선함기 돌아 편제 상해 두바라쇼 상해 최강 저기 전함나 창조 바르도니 계시지 나게 진소기 선함기 돌아 편제 상해 두바.
Thank you so much. All right, so the first question that we have today is, Tenzin, Osel, please talk to us about karma. What does it mean to us in our daily life?
So we're going straight to the point, to the source. Yeah, so karma is a concept. It's difficult to explain, difficult to understand, like most concepts maybe, but this concept is real. It's not just a concept, it's actually real. So right now, this very moment, we're actually experiencing the result of our karma. One of the aspects of our karma. The direct result is our experience right now, what we are experiencing. So, I mean, it's just about name, you know. You could say evolution, right? And you can say karma. They go close. But the difference between evolution and karma is that evolution is something that is happening, right? And karma is very linked to the individual action and intention. So that is the difference between maybe karma and evolution. So karma there is of course a collective karma, which is part of the evolution. But then what we try to talk about in Dharma normally, or this specific question probably is about the individual karma, right? So our experience right now is the result of our karma. Not just this life, but also many lifetimes ago. Of course, if you don't believe in reincarnation, then it's difficult to understand. So if you want to keep it simple, the idea of karma is just cause and effect. For anything to be as it is, there has to be a cause before, right? The existence didn't just pop out from nowhere and just suddenly appear, right? It has been a process. So the process of cause and effect, that is basically what karma is trying to explain. Karma is explaining that we haven't just arrived here just suddenly. We've been living and experiencing our karma for countless time. Actually, there is no beginning, there is no end to who we are. Our soul or our mind or our consciousness, that's according to the texts, to the Buddhist philosophy, there is no beginning, there is no end. So then that is huge, the questions that come from that. It's like, if there's no beginning, no end, then all possibilities are possible. Everything could have happened. How many, universes, alternative universes where somebody like me exists? And maybe there's just one small detail that changes, right? So all these concepts start happening, boom. So of course, because we have that capacity, we are beings of fantasy, right? I mean, if you really want to think about it, I don't know if you've read the book Sapiens. Have you read the book Sapiens? Very good book about the history of, this Homo sapiens. And what I found very interesting was it explains how, a certain group of people come together and we all believe in something. And what we believe in is what keeps us united, working for the same goal, right? So that what we believe in, you could call it fantasy, right? Because it is something created by our mind in some way. The concept, okay, the idea. So let me just give an example. A country, for example. A country is a fantasy, right? I mean, everybody believes in it 100% and everybody works or even goes to war for that country. People will give their life because they all believe in that same fantasy, which is the existence of that country, that they are part of that country. But in the end, where is the country? Can anybody show me where the border is exactly? Is there any natural line there or something? It's all created by the mind. And the money is the same thing. It's created by a concept, and then you give power to that concept, to that fantasy. You believe in it. And then that belief of that fantasy helps everybody come together and work for the same cause, for the same goal. So that was, I think, a very interesting concept that in Sapiens, he was talking about. I forget his name, Yuan something. I have it. Yuval Noah Harari. Yeah, that's his name. I'm very bad with names. I'm good with faces, but bad with names. So this is, for example, for me, it's like, okay, wow, it doesn't surprise me so much, because since I was a child, I've always been bombarded by concepts and ideas that really, it was hard for me to really understand because there was nothing really to put it into practice with, until I left the monastery. When I left the monastery, that's when really what I learned of what Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, the technique of understanding the nature of the mind and completely understanding our true potential. So that technique, until I didn't leave the monastery, for me, it was very difficult to really understand how you can really put it in practice, right? Because I was completely different circumstances. That's why, for example, in order to really practice Dharma, you also have to know how, you have to be able to suffer, right? I mean, that's why as humans, we're perfect. We're the perfect guinea pigs to practice Dharma. Because we can enjoy life, we can have a temporary happiness or joy or some kind of satisfaction or fulfillment, but temporary. And at the same time, we also have a temporary suffering, which can become huge according to how our mindset is, our state of mind, our attitude, our perspective. So depending on that, our suffering can be huge, but we suffer, we all have to suffer because it's we're in samsara, it's just the way things work, like we enjoy and we suffer. And that's why for humans, it's very good to be in that situation. Of course, maybe for some people may think I'm being sarcastic, but it's true, if you're always only enjoying, you forget about really what matters, the true values in life, right? If you have a life full of enjoyment, then you don't really have that thought of saying, okay, maybe what is going to happen tomorrow? What is my purpose? Am I really the most important thing in the universe? Those ideas, that concept is very hard to have if you have everything you want and you're just completely in a world of pleasure, constant enjoyment, right? So only when your comfort zone is shaken, that is when you start thinking, oh, what's happening? Where am I? Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? Until that moment, then difficult. So as humans, we have that opportunity. We have capacity to not always be suffering because, for example, in the animal realm, the animals are always suffering most of the time. Even we may think, well, maybe dog is not always suffering. But the nature of the animal is to be scared, is to be kind of like looking for food. If you see a dog, the way they eat, it just already shows the level of suffering they have. They can't enjoy, they can't really taste. It's not, they just they put their face in the food and just eat. That's an aspect of karma, for example, and they don't really enjoy. And when it's finished, they want more. And while they're eating, they're not satisfied. They're already thinking of, or maybe if some piece fell outside, they're already thinking of that piece that fell outside. So it's insatisfaction. It's big. That is suffering. Insatisfaction is suffering. So even if you think you're enjoying, just the fact that you know that it's impermanent already creates insatisfaction and suffering. So it's important to be aware of these concepts. Very important. Very important. So in the animal realm, normally, it's very difficult to practice Dharma. You don't have the capacity to really, really practice Dharma, to have that peace of mind and the time to say, okay, now I'm going to dedicate this time to meditate and to have a perspective, a different perspective of myself from the usual kind of perspective. the different, without the chit chat of the mind, And so that's why we are very fortunate to be humans. And of course, maybe many people say, what do you mean? What are they saying? It's fortunate to be humans. Do other dimensions exist? Yes, of course they exist. There's a God realm, for example. In the God realm, you only enjoy. Of course, it can be a concept. It can be just a metaphor. Also, you can also use it as a metaphor in order to really understand how lucky we are right now to have the balance, So we suffer in order to really appreciate where we are and who we are. And we have the capacity to be able to enjoy and appreciate that particular aspect of life, which is magic. Just the whole experience of life is, wow, it's amazing. If we choose to be able to see it, and that's another story. So going back to karma, we create our own situation. We create our future. If you want to understand our past, you have to look at the present. If you want to understand your future, you just have to look at the present. So basically, if we want to try to tackle this question in a very coarse kind of way, then that is the description I would give for karma. And of course, you can go down to much more subtle kind of details. But then, of course, that is more based on faith. So based on what the text is written, of course, you can check. You have to check. You must check and analyze. The Buddha himself said that. It's very important. Everything, all the teachings and philosophy, you have to check and analyze. Because if you don't, then what's the point? It's like, okay, feed me. Just feed me. Just put everything here, just feed me. And then I don't have the experience. It's like going blindfolded in a bus. Then you get somewhere, but you don't know how you got there. And then you get lost immediately. The moment you start walking a little bit, you get lost. Because you don't really have the actual experience of what it is walking the path. But if you walk the whole path, then you know it by memory almost. It's different, when you drive or when you're driven. It's very different. So Dharma is not about, just blah, blah, blah. I listen, I meditate a little bit. Now I feel good with myself because I'm doing something with myself about my life, So now, okay, this job is done, now I can feel good about myself. No, it's not. That's called spiritual bypass. So it's creating more problems in the end, because your issues, your personal issues are still there. And we all have issues, trust me, absolutely. Why? Because we're humans. We have that factor. Why? Because we have the mind. or here, wherever it is. I don't know where the mind is. Who knows where the mind is? There's many theories, of course. Yeah. But we want something tangible, something here. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to get to. We're trying to make sense out of our existence. So there's many explanations, and karma is one of the main explanations that explains really the physics of the universe, our relationship with the universe. So if you really understand karma, then you can really start to understand our relationship with the universe and our purpose in a way, because really we are conditioning ourselves every moment. We're conditioning ourselves. So we are creatures of habit based on memory, right? And we condition constantly based on our perception. So what we perceive something, and then we have the thought, I want this, I crave this, I need this, I want this, this is going to make me happy. Or the thought of, this I don't like, this is disgusting, or this is bad, or this makes me unhappy, or this is disturbing. I don't want to see this image, I don't want to hear this person, I don't, that kind of pushing away. And then the third aspect is indifference. I don't care. Whether it exists or doesn't exist, I don't care. Because I don't have a wanting or not wanting, kind of concept. So by reacting in that way, we are conditioning our mind. So karma basically is linked to that conditionment. Okay, because there's many different karmas. It's not only just the gross karma, there's also the subtle karma. And so the conditionment is happening throughout our whole lifetime. And we don't only have to deal with the conditioning that we have created in this lifetime, but the mountain, the Himalaya mountain we've been creating in all our past lives. So... And of course you can say, it's impossible, it is crazy, I don't like this concept, I want to try something else. Sure, why not? Because to challenge yourself, is the most difficult thing that you probably will have to do in your life, to confront yourself. And that's why the metaphor of the Himalaya mountain is exactly that. It's the fact that we have a lot of work to do. Even the day of our death, we are processing and learning that process still. And how many times have we done that? How many times have we died or been born? And actually every day is like a lifetime. You're born in the morning, you're young, fresh, keen, eager. And at night you're tired, you're more not so eager, everything is not so interesting anymore, everything is kind of like, okay, I've seen the sun many times, I've seen the trees dancing with the wind many times, it's not interesting anymore. So it's a little bit like that. And then you get tired, slowly, and then you go to sleep and you die, right? And then you wake up in the morning and you're reborn again. So actually life is teaching us. Life is full of metaphors. It's amazing all the time, for us to learn about the aspect of what we are. I mean, we are love, right? We are life. Life is love. Love is life, kind of, I guess, maybe not. You can debate if you want, huh? I'm all ears. But yeah, basically, so we are, first of all, we're very lucky to be human, to have the opportunity to practice Dharma, and to be able to have the knowledge of understanding karma. Karma is linked with our intention. So the most important aspect of karma is the intention. And then, of course, we have to put it in practice. So in order to put it in practice, we have to work on ourselves. So it's not about, oh, you know, or somebody's going to tell me some secret. And then, oh, then suddenly, oh, wow, now I know the secret, I'm free. It's nothing like that. You know, it's the reality is much less awesome than we can imagine. But then at the same time, it's much more awesome than we can ever imagine. If you know what I mean. So, like, okay, I can go to the point. Idealization is not good, for example. Idealization is not good, at least from my perspective. Why? Because we're creating a concept that doesn't exist, right? And if we create a concept that doesn't exist and we believe that it can exist, then we're fooling ourselves and we're wasting our time and we're setting ourselves up for complete disappointment. And most of our life, we're idolizing something, or our own future, or our job, or our future soulmate, or who knows? Who knows what we're idolizing? But somehow we always have to idealize to feel better somehow. But that's a big mistake, because that's another type of bypass. It's another type of bypass, just like the Ferrari or the swimming pool or the helicopter or the jet or the job or whatever you want to call it. It's more the same things. So until we don't really just, you know, get to the point and really understand that what we're trying to do unconsciously, or maybe consciously also, is trying to avoid confronting ourselves, basically, for our whole lifetime. So Dharma is helping us to really tackle that problem, to understand that we cannot keep running from ourselves. You know, there's a very good Bob Marley song. I love to quote Bob Marley, but there's one quote from one of his songs that says, "You can't keep running from yourself. You can't keep running from yourself." And I love that quote because it literally is like that. You know, there's another quote which I don't know if somebody said it or not, but so I probably did not invent it, because it's very difficult to really invent anything unless you're a real genius like Nikola Tesla. But so I don't know if I invented, maybe there existed, but it's save yourself from yourself. And I think it's literally, that's our job, to save ourselves from ourselves. Nobody else can condemn us the way we do, and nobody else can save us the way we should or can. So basically, that's our lifetime job, or not lifetime, but lifetime to lifetime job. And once we understand that and are able to save ourselves, then our job is to help others save themselves. And of course, so the process is, I need to save myself in order to save everybody else, in order to help everybody else save themselves. Right? Because nobody can really save you. Nobody can tell you the truth. You know, because each person has to find their own truth. Each person has to have their own experience. And that's why we're here. You know, otherwise you can just, you know, connect in like in the Matrix, you just put the pipe, you know, inside here, and you just experience the whole lifetime, and that's it. You don't have to even be born. You know, that's it. You can attain emptiness, you know, through just connecting yourself to the computer. Anyways, okay, so that's karma. Karma is a little bit like that. And yeah, and so basically karma is the universal law that applies to every sentient being.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Thank you so much, Tenzin Osel. I think Amazon will get a spike in orders for the book Sapiens today. They're going to wonder why so many people are ordering it.
That's not the intention.
Okay, so Another question that a student had is about the guru and the guru's blessings. And they're asking if you can explain how the guru's blessings assist the student on their path to enlightenment.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question because we are now in the 21st century. Correct. But a lot of these traditions were created in a feudal system. So I'm not saying the guru devotion is not correct or anything like, so please don't misunderstand me at all. I have to get to slowly I'll talk about it. But the first aspect that I want to talk about is, so the blessing of the guru. The blessing of the guru, I mean, first of all, is ourself. If we are not open to blessing, the guru cannot really reach us. Does that make sense? So, for example, if I don't want to learn, nobody can teach me, right? You cannot teach a baby to walk on 4 legs. He has to learn by himself. So in the same way, nobody can teach anybody to do anything or to understand anything. We have to have that experience. We have to have the process of learning. And if we don't want to learn, nobody can teach us. So the first guru, most of all, is ourself. Because through this guru is how we learn, right? We have to channel that experience of learning. So that is I think a lot of confusion starts there, because people forget about themselves. Even like talking about compassion, all sentient beings, and then you forget about yourself. And that happens a lot. I know many people who are just completely dedicated their whole life to helping sentient beings, but then their health is not so good because they don't have time for themselves. And that's a big issue. That's very important. Unless, of course, you're a Siddhi or you're enlightened like Lama Soba Rinpoche, then of course that's a different story. And maybe we don't have the merit, so he gives like a kind of like aspect of getting tired, but that's our own kind of lack of merit. But for normal people like us, we have to really be aware of this aspect of self-compassion. I mean, it's good, compassion for others is very important, and the compassion for others should be like the compassion for yourself. But the issue is that sometimes it is easier to have compassion for others than for oneself. And that is a big problem, because we are always searching outside. We're always trying to, we create the problems. Our mind creates the problems, and then we spend most of our life trying to solve those problems, when we are the first ones who created those problems. And the problems I'm talking about now is the first world country problems. Okay, so I'm not talking about like lack of food or lack of company, of warmth. I mean, okay, yeah, that happens in first world countries. There's a lot of lack of warmth, maybe. But when I'm talking about like safety issue, like places where there's a war zone or big famine, I'm not talking about that kind of problem. I'm talking about the first world problem, the problems that occur when we have everything, when we have food, when we have shelter, we have a bed, we have friends, we have everything we need to have a fulfilling life. But somehow all these problems arise somewhere, somehow. So those kind of problems, that's what I'm talking about, those type of problems. Don't confuse, okay? Because there's survival problems and there's extra problems that come up from our mind, from our attitude, from our perspective. Okay, so basically you just change your perspective, you change your attitude, change your life. So basically, the guru devotion, first of all, if you don't have the actual respect you should have for yourself, it's very difficult to really have the true guru devotion. Because maybe in front of people you act in a way, or in front, but then with yourself you're a completely different story. It's like, for example, for me, if I want to know someone well, I have to live with that person at least for 3 months. You know, until before I live with somebody for 3 months, it's very difficult to really know somebody. And even then, it's very hard to really know someone. But once you've lived with somebody for 3 months, then you start understanding a little bit, maybe, you know, what kind of person they are. You know, so, but I'm not saying, you know, judging, it's not the point about, oh, judging somebody, or who they are, who they're not. It's not about that. I'm talking about yourself. You know, who we are with ourselves. What kind of attitude do we have with ourselves? That's what you have to check. That's what you have to analyze. You know, do you have the same respect for yourself as you have for the guru? If you don't, then that's a big mistake. You know? So anyways, there's many examples like that, you know, but there's many examples. Many are coming in my mind, but I don't know if it's very adequate to talk about them. But yeah, it's just funny. It's funny. No, it's like, I'm sorry, I have to say it, I guess, you know, right? It's like farting, right? When the guru is in front, you can't fight. It's very disrespectful to fight. But then when you're alone, you fight, no problem, you know. Some people even enjoy their own smell, of their own farts. So of course you cannot always apply this example to any situation. I'm saying, generally speaking, okay, the same respect that you have for the guru is the respect you should have for yourself. Okay, but you can't apply that to every single situation that you have with yourself. And that's an example. But generally speaking, I think that's a big mistake. You know, people think that somehow there's a difference between the actual guru outside and the guru inside. There is no difference, you know, because everything starts here. So in the end, the guru is really showing us, you know, the path, in the sense, you know, showing us the example. What kind of potential do we have? What kind of person can we be? You know, but it's not like the guru is not going to take us from here, from A to B, you know, or so. But of course, they are going to be the shining example that's going to help us to understand who we want to be. Does that make sense? So I think that's the first step, to really start to understand the blessings of the guru. Starts from within. Then, of course, the presence of the guru is almost like, for example, saying, like if there's an astronaut, if you want to be an astronaut, you want to go to the moon and you meet Neil Armstrong, it's like, wow, now that I met him, I'm even closer to going to the moon. You understand? Because he's been to the moon, right? So it's like the influence, the collective memory, or the influence in the collective memory that it creates, just the presence of the guru, it speeds up everything. Because it's the embodiment of that experience. And we have this a collective memory it's connected, everything is connected. So we get, those are the blessings also. To be in the presence of somebody enlightened or somebody who has reached realizations helps us to speed our own experience also. But we cannot apply the feudal system guru devotion faith to the 21st century guru devotion faith, because now, these days, it's a different situation. You know, for us, we are much more, we're not as ignorant as people at that time, because at that time, most people were illiterate, for example, right? So it was very difficult to really explain to them these concepts. But if you explain to them to have faith, in order to practice, so automatically through the faith, it will create the pattern, the habits, in order to reach that kind of realization. So it goes hand in hand, you know, but you have to take it out of the context and understand it in a new context. So that's what I'm trying to explain. And I hope it makes sense.
Yes, very much so. Thank you for being so clear, Tenzin Osel. So one of the students has written in based on this, student from Mexico City asked, well, is it a mistake to think that love and compassion are enough on the Buddhist path? Or is devotion to the guru necessary and inevitable?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yes, sorry. Is it a mistake to think that love and compassion are enough on the Buddhist path? Or is devotion to the guru necessary and it will happen once you're on the Buddhist path?
So basically, in Tibetan, they say tap sherap ngejung, right? So tap is a method. Sherap would be the wisdom, and ngejung would be the renunciation. So of course, when you take refuge in Namo Gurube, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, right? So Guru is the first one. So it's very important. But on the path, you have the method and the wisdom. So basically, the method is compassion. Well, compassion wouldn't be technically the correct name. It would be more bodhicitta would be the correct name, technically speaking. Bodhicitta. So bodhicitta is a kind of compassion, but it's unlimited, limitless, right? It's limitless. Bodhicitta. And compassion, of course, for us, we call it compassion, because it does kind of have a limit, it's based on ego also. So, and love, of course, I mean, it's easy to mix everything up because they're all related, right? It's like saying, okay, blue is a color and white is a color, right? But color is not white and color is not blue. You understand that concept? So having compassion is part of love, is part of bodhicitta. But bodhicitta is not compassion or empathy or love. We really, that you really have to define bodhicitta and really start to understand what bodhicitta really is. And bodhicitta is totally completely different level that for me is very difficult to grasp. I can understand the people who actually do have bodhicitta. I can relate to that. But for me to understand that kind of concept is very difficult. So I think it's a gradual thing, but first of all, we all are beings of love. We all are beings of love. Our true nature is love, right? It's pure love, clear light. And of course, slowly, we kind of complicate things. We put things in boxes. We condition this, we condition that. But in the end, because our true nature is love, it's very easy for us to connect and relate to that aspect of ourselves. So it's gradually, I mean, of course, theoretically, there is a debate where it says only with bodhicitta you can attain enlightenment, right? Just with bodhicitta, without the wisdom. Just with compassion, you can reach to enlightenment. But of course, that's a theory. Normally, it has to be combined with wisdom. But I believe that just with the compassion, you can get very far. Actually, without the compassion, it's impossible. So even if you have all the wisdom in the universe, without the key, which is compassion, there's no way. Maybe you can get to samadhi, and that's it. After samadhi, maybe, I don't know, Marcos can correct me. But if you don't have compassion after samadhi, then very difficult to follow up. You get stuck there in pure bliss. It's a kind of a mental state of pure bliss, of ecstasy. And then because if you don't have real compassion, then it's very difficult to really disconnect from the ego. Because in order to disconnect from the ego, you must have a certain, like detachment. You can't really practice compassion if you're attached. I mean, you can up to a certain point. Because attachment mainly is the main reason why we're stuck in samsara. is because we don't want to let go of something that doesn't even belong to us. So anyways, yeah, so that it's another story. But so the question was that I believe so, yeah, that just with compassion is enough. But if you can work with the wisdom, if you can have an understanding of how to put it in practice and like that, then it's going to be much easier and faster. It's more complete. But yes, but and of course the guru devotion is very important aspect of that process. But in the end, sometimes you can also reach enlightenment through with yourself. It's the Buddha didn't really have a guru. When he reached enlightenment, there was a few Hindu yogis who taught him up to a certain point, but then after that point he took the step forward and he continued by himself. Fortunately, most of us will not have to go through that situation. We all have amazing gurus like His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So fortunately we don't have to practice alone and without guidance. But of course, yes, absolutely, it's possible.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So Tenzin Osel, moving towards the topic of practice, a student has asked, who are we praying to when reciting prayers, and what makes prayers effective?
So prayers, mainly, we're creating a pattern. We're creating neural pathways, basically. If you want to understand the concept scientifically, it'd be something like that. Where we are creating neural pathways. So basically, it's like a path in the forest. The more you walk, the easier it is to walk that path. So for example, we have immense power. And somehow we keep giving our power away all the time throughout our whole lifetime. And so I think it's a big, important responsibility to know how to keep that power and to use it properly, right? And not to give it away to anything. Mainly attachment sometimes, ego, destructive emotions, who knows, all kinds of situations. So what was the question again? Sorry.
The question was, who are we praying to when reciting prayers, and what makes prayers effective?
So who are we praying to? That's a very good question. It's a very good question, because most of the time, I think in all the religions, when we pray, we're praying to something outside, right? In a way, maybe superficially that's how we see it, but in the end, all the religions are all talking about the same thing, which is within. So superficially, we may think that we're praying to something outside, external. But at the end of the day, we are praying to our own power, in a way. Well, this question is very difficult to tackle, huh? It's easy but difficult. So when we're praying, basically, okay, so let me start. We go back in time, yeah? So prayers was an easy way to help people create the condition that they needed to really take the quantum leap. Does that make sense? So for example, I want to be a good person, right? I want to be a good person. So what do? I visualize all mother sentient beings and that I want to help them. I want to help liberate them from suffering. So that's a prayer, and that's a visualization. So what am I praying? I'm praying to be able to liberate and help all sentient beings from suffering. Is it realistic? No, it's not realistic at all. But somehow that's part of the practice. You pray, that's what you pray for. You pray to be able to help sentient beings. So you are creating in your brain, in your kind of psyche, you're creating a drive, a purpose towards a direction that you want to accomplish. So even though it's not realistic, the process is realistic. So where it gets us, it's the same thing with water balls or prostrations, or any kind of practice. We are creating the cause, we're preparing ourselves or our mind, we're like preparing the ground for the flower to grow. So basically prayer is that. To pray is to prepare the ground to plant the seed. Does that make sense? And of course, when you pray, you're not praying to something external, you're praying to the universe within us, which is part of the whole universe also. But it starts within. It's not, doesn't start outside, it starts inside. So when you pray, you start from within, and from inside it goes out. It expands. So basically, the prayer is a method, is a very ancient method, and scientific also, that humans have been using for thousands of years for many different kind of purposes, be it good or bad. So it's basically just mind training. It's a mind training to create that kind of pattern, that kind of habit. So if every day I'm reciting, I want to help all sentient beings, I want to help all sentient beings, I want to help all sentient beings, then automatically I'm creating that kind of thought. I'll be less egoist. I'll react in a much better, more positive way in any kind of situation where I could react really badly. If I'm doing my mantra every day, I want more money, I want more money, I want, oh money pay me soon, oh money pay me soon, or something like that, then in the long run, what's the result? Where the neural pathways is just me, I, myself, and me. And it's scientifically proven that people who use those three words a lot suffer a lot too. So when you say me, myself, and I a lot, like when you in everyday conversations, that person suffers a lot. Why? Because they are very self-centered. So when you're very self-centered, your problems become huge. Everything becomes huge. And then, so that's why, what we feed our mind, what we feed our thoughts is very important, because what we feed is eventually what we become. It's the same as what we eat. We are what we eat. So that's why prayer is a very universal, important, ancient technique, which today we can apply it in a different way. I have a mantra which is I'm not bigger than my problems. I'm not bigger than my problems. So when I'm having issues, then I just do that mantra, and it works very well. So it's just about creating a mindset, an attitude, in life. It's as simple as that. Nothing more complicated.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So our student here in Florida has asked if you could give us some advice regarding a beneficial daily practice. That's from Margaret in Florida.
So daily practice is a daily practice. It's not just a one day, okay, then goodbye. Right? So the same way we have to eat every day, we have to breathe every day, we have to talk every day, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm joking. We have to gossip every day in order to survive. It's very important. So every day, we have like a responsibility, right? I mean, we have a responsibility to all these billions of cells that are working so hard, tirelessly every day in order for us to have this experience, which we take for granted. Unless, of course, when something goes wrong, then we're like, oh, what's going on here? Until then, we take it for granted. We have a responsibility, So just the same way that we have to breathe and eat every day, then if you want a daily practice, I think the first thing that is so healthy is to rejoice. Gratitude. Gratitude is food, is the best food for a happy mind. So if you wake up in the morning and the first thought that you have is gratitude, wow, then I could say you have realization. I'm not joking. I can give you the degree, the first realization of happiness degree step. It's true. How many of us wake up in the morning and we don't have that thought? We have our first thought is our problems. Or what we don't want. Even if we don't have it, but we don't want it. Or what we would like, what I would like to have, you know? Also like that. Or the first thing we do in the morning was pick up the phone. Why we have an addiction with the screen of the phone. It has an effect in our brain that makes us happy somehow. So the first thing we wake up in the morning, oh, the phone. Many people are like that. The first thing in the morning, phone. So if you want to have a daily routine, I would recommend the first thing, don't look at your phone. Step 1, don't look at your phone. Step 2, gratitude. And everything else is your choice. But yeah, that would be my advice. You know, don't look at your phone the first thing in the morning. Please do it for you. You know, even if you're a businessman, don't pick up your phone for yourself. Do it for your own good. You know, don't pick up your phone till after breakfast, you know, at least. So you have some time to be with yourself, you know, because the phones really are isolating us a lot. At the same time, they connect us to the person on the other side of the planet, but at the same time, they're isolating us with the person next door, you know. That's another story that I can talk about. But yeah, gratitude. I think for me, the best sadhana is gratitude. Why? Because gratitude is the first step to forgetting about yourself in that sense. You're thankful to what you have. So you forget about what you want, what you don't have, right? You forget about that. Because you're just focusing on gratitude. So you're focusing on what you have here and now. And then that creates the base to be able to really be able to appreciate everybody else. You know, because you don't appreciate people because we are unsatisfied, we are unhappy with ourselves because we are not capable of living with ourselves. We don't give ourselves space to be with ourselves. I know it sounds so simple, but that's the 21st century problem is that we don't have time to be with ourselves. We don't give ourselves the space or the energy. We don't dedicate time for ourselves, or sometimes too much in a wrong way. It becomes a very egocentrical kind of formless grasping neediness that we feed. And when I say formless grasping, it's exactly that, you know, it's just a concept. It's a concept, or maybe an attachment to, you know, external agent, how it makes us feel. You know, it can even be, you know, our partner, how our partner makes us feel, or how a certain agent, external agent makes us feel, or, you know, certain situations in life, you know, be it adrenaline and situations of very dangerous situations. So we are, in a way, we're always kind of like looking for these things, but we don't really give that time to ourselves of saying like, okay, now I'm just gonna breathe in, breathe out, and calm my mind, and just be with myself without any kind of concept or preconception at all whatsoever. And if it comes, I'm gonna move it away. If it comes, I'm gonna move it away slowly. You can't do it from one day to another, obviously. Slowly, it's practice. Just like a muscle that you have to practice in order for it to, the mind, it's the same. You have to sharpen the mind, you know? So the more you sharpen it, the more subtle the mind becomes, the more aware you become of things, especially about your own mechanisms. So that's why the first step in your daily routine should be gratitude. Because when you have gratitude, you give space to be able to feel compassion, to be happy, and then that's the first step to create non-unhappiness, right? And that's the perfect ground to start practicing Dharma and to be able to appreciate life, appreciate yourself, appreciate people, etc., 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 right? So it's just the first step for many, many, many very good things happening. But if your first step when you wake up is like, oh, I don't want to be alive, oh, this is so difficult, oh, why didn't I get what I want? Today I want to get what I want, what I don't have. Then in the end, you're running away from yourself again. So we go back to the same thing that we were discussing before. So gratitude. First thing in the morning, wake up and feel gratitude for who you are. And from there, you will see slowly, you will create the conditions for many, many, many other good things.
Thank you. That's so helpful, Tenzin Osel. Thank you so, so much. So earlier you were talking about spiritual bypass, and Carla sent in a question related to that. And she says that she's worried that her practice isn't real enough and that it's just another ego trip. So how do we know?
100%. I agree. So what's the question?
So the question is, how do we know if our practice is authentic and real?
I mean, are you real? I mean, if the person is not real, the practice can't be real. But it's the same thing, if you're scared of death, then you're scared of life. If you want to run away from death, then you're running away from life. If you can't accept death, then you can't accept life. It's like that. The people who really enjoy life are the people who are not, with a million paranoias about what can happen or what can't happen. And really it's about living, right? Because if we have to die, we will have to die no matter what, right? If the karma is there, then so obviously, who are we? What are we? Are we real or not? That is a good question. Because if you're real, then your practice is real, I'm sure. But if you're not real, then your practice is difficult for it to be real, It just becomes one more extra, curriculum for your own self-cherishing mind. So it's a very easy question to answer, but at the same time, it's not me who has to answer that question. It's the person who's practicing. I can't check up on their practice and say, oh yeah, oh wow, this hair here is standing on end, so that means you attained a special realization. No, I mean, each person has their own kind of practice and understanding, right, and evolution, and then they have to be able to know that. Obviously, one important factor is that you don't practice to show off, obviously, and your own practice is your own personal thing, So, for example, you don't talk about your practice to people normally. But of course, sometimes if you need advice from people, it's very important to talk about it. But I would say that it's as long as it's as real as you want it to be, basically. It's up to you. It's not like, oh, and now I have to say exactly the words and pronounce it exactly like that, and I have to do the mudra like this, and then I have to do like that, and if I don't do it like that, then I'm doing it wrong, then it's not going to work, then this, blah, 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 blah. That's exactly what we're not trying to do, right? So it's not about, of course there's a process, a tradition, which is beautiful, it's amazing, and every movement represents something. Every word has profound meaning. But that doesn't mean that you have to be suffering because you don't get it right or because you think you're not getting it right. Then we're just doing more of the same thing. So there's a beauty of the practice and there's a beauty of who you are. right? Or who you are being. So you have to be able to really neutralize, like kind of fuse those two things together. The beauty of who you are being and the beauty of the practice itself. And you can't make one thing step on the other thing. You can't be like, oh, this practice is so beautiful, but I'm not beautiful. Or this practice is so beautiful, but I'm not good enough. So then you're just squashing one thing with the other. So both have to really be able to fuse simultaneously in a harmonic way. So, and of course, you always have to be aware of the ego. Where is it coming from? How is it coming? The mechanism. Every time you have self-cherishing thought, where does it come from? Why did it come? How did it come? Why did I allow it to come? To really understand this concept, oh, me, poor me. When you have that thought of, oh, poor me, oh, where did that come from? Why me? What's up with me? I want it, oh, me, why me? That's a very good practice. I have many friends who have addictions, drug problems. And one of the main advice I give to them is that the moment you lose that self-cherishing mind, that me, I want mind, automatically the addiction becomes much smaller, right? Because addiction comes from that, or the anger. You get angry with somebody because you have a big ego. If you don't have big ego, you don't get angry with people, because the anger starts with oneself. You lose patience with yourself. Nobody made you angry. Nobody made you. You lose patience with yourself. You angry with yourself, and you are channeling that vibration, that low frequency. It's which destroys your body. Actually, anger is very bad. When you channel anger, when you channel jealousy, all these things are not healthy. And we feed it because we want to. It's that simple. Because we want to, because we believe in that, because it's the pattern that we have. Somehow it makes us feel good. And the poor me kind of thought makes us feel good in a way. Of course, in the long run, no. In the long run, it's a huge problem, because it's going to be something we're going to be carrying for the rest of our life. So the earlier we understand that mechanism and recognize self-cherishing thoughts in the ego, it doesn't mean, oh, suddenly I don't exist. I shouldn't, I know, like if I die, it doesn't matter. It's not that extreme. So you have to find the balance between being part of the collective, but also being proud for who you are. Right? It's not about forgetting yourself and sacrificing yourself for the collective good. It's not about that. So we really have to be able to know which is a balance. And that's up to you to understand, to see. Because only you know yourself like yourself. And even then, you yourself don't even know yourself very well either. But there's nobody like yourself who knows yourself. And even then, we still don't know ourselves well enough. Okay, so it's a complex.
That's great. Thank you. So Tenzin Osel, student John is asking, what is the best way to keep our Dharma goals of not harming sentient beings, but also make the planet a better place through gardening and different cultivation, planting trees and food?
Oh, yeah. See, I mean, first of all, I think it's very important to understand who we are. And part of who we are is our relationship with the earth and nature. And one of the atrocities of humanity is that we don't want to adapt to nature. We want nature to adapt to us constantly, and we are destroying it in the process. So, yeah, I think it's very important to be aware and educate ourselves about our relationship to nature, which will help us to understand our relationship with ourselves too. Because we are completely interdependent with nature. So I think planting trees is a great step. Planting trees is at least the first step, the active step to actually do something, not just blah blah blah. So actually doing something. Something, and we're making an effort for, and the result is something that we will never be able to really experience. And that's the beauty of planting a tree. is that the fruits, maybe we'll be able to eat the fruits, but metaphorically speaking, we're doing a work, we're putting in energy, and are dedicating our time, our space, and our energy, and towards a goal. But the result of the goal, we will never be able to experience that. The next generation will experience that, and that is a beauty. That is unconditional love in itself. Doing something for someone and without expecting absolutely anything in return. So that's unconditional love. So I think planting a tree is a great example of unconditional love.
Great. So that leads into the next question, which is, yes.
Sorry. So how many more questions are there? Can we do like a short break? PP break? Is that possible or not?
We can do anything that you would like, Tenzin Osel.
No. Please don't say that. That's very dangerous.
Yes.
I just go to the loo for a second. So I was just thinking we can take a short break. Just 1-2 minutes max.
Yes, please.
Half of the people will disappear. So I take responsibility for that. I'm sorry. I'm already projecting into the future. Bad things. It's the nature of the human mind, right?
Okay, yes, please.
Thank you so much. 2 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Shall we continue? Okay, so that question led nicely into the next one, which is the way the world is today, what would you say is more important, our spiritual practice or environmental activism? And what role should we take in working towards environmental justice? Oh, yes. Nicole, can you unmute Tenzin Osel, please? Samsara, hang on.
Okay. So yeah, actually, it's very interesting, this question, because the answer came to me immediately. And the answer is that environmental practice and spiritual practice is the same thing, really. because it represents, both of them represents an aspect of ourself. So, and in both cases, we're trying to heal aspects of ourselves. So yeah, it's exactly that, you know. So I feel that they go hand in hand, you know. Like for example, basically, planting a tree can be the most spiritual thing, you know. I don't know. I mean, for me, trees are like the stupas of the planet. So I don't know. Can you ask the question again, just so I understand exactly what you want me to answer?
Yeah, sure. That was a perfect answer for the first part. And then the second half of the question is, what role do you feel we should take in working towards environmental justice?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think most of us are hypocrites because because of our lifestyle. You know, it's very comfortable for us to have a lifestyle like this, you know. But really, it's hypocritical, you know, because it has a huge environmental impact. I mean, just the internet, just to watch a movie, you can do research. Watching a movie, how much energy does it use to watch one movie? Right? Or the emails, just to have all your emails in your inbox sitting there. How much energy for the cooling system of the computers? How much does it take? You know, so I think one of the issues is that we're not properly educated to really understand the impact of our lifestyle, and that is because of capitalism. Capitalism is not really interested in us to be that conscious, because the moment we're really conscious, then the capitalism will just crumble, just fall apart, because it's based on consumerism. And the moment we know that the impact that this has, our consumerism on the ecosystem, then I think probably all of us would stop, or maybe not. I don't know, because many of us who do know, we still do have a certain lifestyle that does go against our more moral code. I'm talking about myself. So I live in a house, yeah, and I have a toilet with a flush, which for me is an atrocity. To have a flush, for many people, it's like a normal thing. You press a button, you waste 5 liters of water for one little pee-pee. You know, what's the point? Why has it got to that? And some people, every 5 minutes, a child is dying of hunger or thirst. So I mean, of course, it's upside down. It's completely upside down. So society or the system, something is wrong, something is not working properly, you know. And that's exactly the issue, is that I think we're not being educated properly. I think we're being educated to work, but we're not being educated to live. And I think life, to know how to live, is the most important. So of course our parents are the ones who have to teach us how to live, but then many times the parents don't know either, because they've never been taught. So it's, I mean, many of us, we learn like once we're inside. We're just thrown in there, and then we just have to learn. And it can be really difficult. Many people don't make it out alive, you know, because they have no idea what is their mind, how they react to certain. There's just so many aspects, you know, the destructive emotions, our relationship with ourselves. There's so many aspects in life that it would be amazing for children to be able to grow up understanding that, to have that kind of basis. And I think that would be the future. Like His Holiness Dalai Lama, he says the future is education. So as long as we stay ignorant like that, then I think it's very difficult for humanity to really take a step forward to improve as a whole, as a collective. It's impossible. And I think the first step is to really understand, you know, our relationship with earth and nature, and how you know that everything is completely interdependent. You know, like you take away the bees and goodbye, you know, the fruits. You know, you take away one species, or you know, or it's like everything is connected, interconnected in nature, and we just do whatever we want. you know. So eventually that balance is gonna disappear, and we're gonna be the ones responsible. So I think, and we're still in time to avoid that. And even then, you know, I think Mother Earth, she's always had many issues, and she survived until now for billions of years. So I don't think humanity is like something new or big problem that's going to destroy Earth. No, I mean, we're just going to destroy ourselves. That's it. So I think before that happens, we have to take a few steps forward to change things. And I think one of those important steps would be education, to understand the impact it has to use internet, for example. You know, what kind of impact does it have to watch a movie, a 2-hour movie online, streaming? Just that, for example. You know, we're not aware of the global impact it has. Slowly, slowly, we will be aware, slowly, slowly. But there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of hidden information. So education. So for me, I think it's very important. I think that is education.
Wow, that gives us a lot to think about for sure, just using the internet. So in closing, Tenzin Osel, can you tell us more about some projects that you have going on, and how we can help and be of benefit to assist your projects?
Well, they're not really my projects. It's not my project. I just have one project, which is my son. He's my best teacher. So he's my main project, actually. But yeah, of course, I mean, I have many projects, but they're not mine. You know, it's like, it's everybody's. It's a collective. If I die tomorrow, then the projects will continue. Why? Because they're not my project. That's why. So one of the collective projects we have is GTI, which would be Global Tree Initiative. And basically, it's, you just plant trees. That's all you have to do. And you have to plant trees that will survive with the climate change. So from 15 to 20 years from now, you have to do a research based on where you live, and check which are the trees that will actually be able to survive properly. You know, once, and check how the climate change is going to impact. So that also, just planting the tree is going to help you to understand the situation 15 to 20 years from now. So it's not just planting a tree, it's also informing yourself of which tree is going to survive, and why is it going to survive, and how is it going to survive, and and then it's a whole huge, it's a door that opens up to a whole new universe, which will help you to take many important steps in your life. So it sounds simple and basic, but it actually goes very far, and it's not going to only impact the next few generations, but maybe the whole of humanity in the future. You know, the whole of humanity means who knows how long we're going to survive, if we survive. So yeah, GTI, Global Tree Initiative, which is many group of amazing people, all dedicated towards the same purpose. And I'm so grateful and honored to be able to participate with them. It's just wow. And so that's a platform that has been created all together. We've created this platform called GTI. It has its own website. And we're starting to do many collaborations with many very professional organizations, also planting trees. So yeah, it's expanding, it's catching like wildfire in a positive sense. And yeah, I mean, up to date, I think we've already planted more than 100,000 trees since February. We started at February, I think we started February. And then throughout the quarantine, we're just quite active online. And yeah, in 33 countries, more than 100,000 trees have been planted, and every tree was planted individually by people who wanted to plant trees to help Earth. And then they offered that to GTI to put it together, the numbers, so that we could offer the merit to His Holiness Dalai Lama's long life and the accomplishment of all his visions and dreams, so for humanity. And then so we dedicated in His Holiness Dalai Lama's birthday. So every year for His Holiness Dalai Lama's birthday and Lama Soba Rinpoche's birthday, we'll be dedicating that, all the trees. Basically, that's one of the main purpose is to be able to offer for the birthdays of His Holiness and Lama Sobaramuje. And then later on, of course, now for next year, then dedicate to other people, big figures like Greta Thunberg, and other, like slowly expanding, But the first year we dedicated for His Holiness Dalai Lama's birthday and Lama Sobaramuje's birthday. So that's how it started. And that's mainly the main project. And then of course there's another project that's about eco villages, because I think eco villages is very important, because we need a space where we can educate ourselves or educate others to know and understand our interconnectivity with life, right? So if we don't know, our connection with nature, then very difficult to really, even if you meditate and have all these spiritual experiences, it's hard to really be down to earth, because in the end we are children of earth. We are the result of what's going on earth. And somehow we're not satisfied with nature, and we need to change everything. And so that's why we're losing touch with ourselves and with nature. So eco villages is something I think is very important, to have eco villages all around the world, where people can go there and spend a month or 2 months and come into contact with nature and learn how to plant, how to grow, how to cook, how to meditate, how to work with your own body, through yoga or dance, expression, art, all kinds of workshops, like whatever workshops, making carpets, or learning about meditation or music. There's just infinite range of things that you can do, but mainly the focus would be that medicine, Ayurveda, Tibetan medicine, these medicines that have been around for many years, for thousands of years, and to learn about all these things, how to use the plants, what each plant is for, how to use them, like all this information that the American Indians or the native Aborigines, they have, but we right now we don't have. We have it in a book, or we have it on the phone, but if you drop us in a jungle, we won't survive for even 2 days. That's how unintelligent we are. Because intelligence is not, how fast I can flick the screen. Intelligence is how well can you survive, in the middle of nature, for example. That's a very high, very, important kind of aspect of intelligence, how to survive in nature or in certain places. So we are losing in touch with all these things, which are part of our own spiritual growth. So, and of course, it's very difficult, I have a friend who doesn't like to go to the countryside. He hates the countryside. He says, there's many bugs, and then this and that, and da. So for him, he loves the city. For him, the city is the natural habitat for the human is the city. And I tried to convince him many times to get out of the apartment, and always is like, no way. I like my fridge, I like my TV, I like my sofa, I like my AC, I like my comfort zone, and that's where I'm happy. I have no interest whatsoever to go, to the jungle or to the countryside to walk and sweat and get burned by the sun and get bitten by the bugs, like for some people that's like completely out of the question. So that's where we've got to, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just important to be aware where we come from and who we are, and we can even do permaculture in the city. I have friends who have a big amount of their food they grow it themselves in the city, in aquariums, and in the terrace they have their own kind of permaculture going on. So it's just something that it can be very complementary to our life, so that's why I think eco villages are important. And that's the other project. So mainly these two right now. So Maha Space Ethics, or Maha Space Eco Villages, that goes together with the ethics, of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And the other aspect, of course, is a global tree initiative to plant trees.
Thank you so much. We've got some links in the chat for people who want to find out more, and we will make certain that the links are on the front of our webpage. We are big supporters of GTI and are so happy to see you doing this, and everyone involved. We're so thankful. Tenzin Osel, we could keep you here for the next 24 hours asking you questions, but I think that would be very selfish of us, and we want to make sure that we leave some space for you to come back again in the future to visit with us again. We just are so thankful. We've been so looking forward to this. So if it's all right with you, we'll do some dedications and long life prayers. And then I know Nicole wanted to say a few words of thanks as well.
If there's any more questions, important questions, I don't mind answering a few more if it can be of benefit. Otherwise, if you think, then we can wrap it up. Absolutely.
Well, there was one more question from Facebook, and this student seemed very it was a strong from their side that the student relates to you so well and is so thankful for your style and your teachings. And the student has asked, do you foresee more contemporary gurus becoming available in the future? And why are there not more contemporary gurus in the Tibetan Buddhist path?
Oh, you were. You didn't know about Geshe Gendun Chimbel? Very famous Geshe. Wow. Way ahead of his time. There's many contemporary. I mean, His Holiness is the best example for me. For me, His Holiness is like 50, 100 years ahead of his time, thousands of years ahead of his time. Wow, for me, it's such an inspiration, so like, you just have to open up your eyes and see, maybe he hasn't really been able to be aware in that sense, but I think first and foremostly is His Holiness the Dalai Lama is completely 100% on target every single time, right on point, completely updated, and most of the time way ahead. So for me, I'm so thankful. For me, that's my main inspiration. His Holiness Dalai Lama Rinpoche, they're my inspiration. My teacher, Gendun Chimbel, Geshe Gendun Chimbel, he has the same name as a great scholar from Tibet, Geshe Gendun Chimbel. They both have the same names. Gendun Chimbel for me was a huge example as for me as an experience, because he really was the embodiment of everything that the Dharma speaks about, just like His Holiness in Namasabaramudja. But for me, I was very close to my teacher because I was with him every day. He was like the main person, I could say the only stable person in my childhood, like the only person that was there all the time, So yeah, he was like my father and like my mother. And so I have huge love for him and respect and admiration. And every time I have any doubts, when I think of him, then boom, And he was very contemporary. He was way ahead also of his time, even though at the time of teaching, he was very traditional, but the way he thought was completely, universal. And I think many teachers have that aspect, but maybe because of the circumstances of the teaching, of where they teach or how they teach, the circumstances are created in a certain way or aspect, so maybe they're limited to teaching only in that aspect, in that kind of circumstance. But maybe if you actually give them the opportunity to expand, then maybe they're completely universal in that sense, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So it's not just about Gelugpa teachings, or Tibetan Dharma. No, it's like Dharma is universal. Before the Buddha arrived, Dharma existed. It's not like the Buddha arrived and said, hey guys, I just invented a new technique. Check this out, yo. That never happened, Buddha arrived and he was like, hey guys, there is a technique that exists and is universal, that applies to everybody. which I discovered through a lot of difficulty. And now I'm going to offer to you this technique, which applies to you too. It works for you too. So that's very important to understand, that Dharma is not like something that just appeared and, oh, we invented Dharma. It's not like that. Dharma exists since we exist. So if we have no beginning, no end, then Dharma has no beginning, no end either. Because it's the technique that we have to put in practice, right? So, for example, if there's a machine that makes a wheat, a grinding machine. So in order to make the wheat, you need to move it like that, right? The wheel, you move it like that. So for everybody it's the same. Everybody has to move it the same way. And it's not like, oh, I invented the wheel, I invented this. That capacity, the possibility has always been there. We just discovered, that aspect of nature. So many people say, oh, Isaac Newton discovered gravity. No, he didn't. He invented gravity. He didn't. He did just discover it. So in the same way that Isaac Newton discovered that law, then the Buddha discovered the law of practicing Dharma. And when we practice Dharma, when we practice certain aspects, there is a result. And all the religions talk about the same golden rule, which is to help others. To help others. If you can't, don't harm. If you can't help, at least don't harm. Right? That's the golden rule for all the religions. So it's not like, oh, suddenly, oh, Dharma is different. No, it's Dharma helps you to be better in any other aspect. So it's not like, oh, we have the Dharma, the Buddhists, we have the Dharma. It's not like that. It's a universal method for everybody that was given the name Dharma. Okay, but it is a universal thing. And all the religions have the same aspect, the same golden rule, the same process. That each one has different technique to reach that goal, yes. But the main aim is always the same, is to understand our true nature, which is love. Clear light. Okay, I don't know. Sometimes I try to talk a lot, but then it becomes just blah, blah, blah. So...
No, blah, blah, blah. It's perfect. It's exactly what we needed today and in these times. And
I hope so.
yes, so much. And we really hope that you will come back soon and talk with us some more.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to go back to Miami. It's a beautiful place.
You're always welcome. Always welcome. So so I guess we do some dedications now, Nicole.
Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me and for allowing me to talk so much and for taking me seriously. Thank you. And please let me know if I can be of service. I'm always going to be here. In one aspect or another, I'm always going to be here, so just I wanted to say thank you for giving me this opportunity in this aspect to be able to help, because we are all universal, right? We are all the same person. In the end, we are all the same consciousness, right? Just different aspects of the same consciousness. The same collective memory or collective flow, consciousness flow kind of thing, okay, now I'm getting a little bit too hocus pocus, whatever. No, but that's how I see it. I feel that mainly we are part of the same consciousness. It's difficult to understand maybe, but that's how I see it. And I think Dharma is saying the same thing too.
Thank you so much, Osel, our dear virtuous friend. We really appreciate you coming and sharing these words and reminders with us, as it's so true. We have a big responsibility as human beings and, each other, to really take care of each other. And hopefully we try to do that through the centers and everyone coming here today. All the translators, thank you all so much for helping in that way. And Jackie for her continuous efforts in keeping us aligned, and all the volunteers and all the FPMT centers and all over the world and all of our teachers, right? I mean, we could go on and on and on. And all of the Global Tree Initiative people, Hans and Anna, working so hard. So many people to thank, and Cecilia today. And yeah, for just keeping on showing up, right? And planting trees and saying prayers. And for more information on Global Tree Initiative, there's information in the chat. Osel has a very lovely blog that they email that, you know, your words through the blogs really inspire us. So thanks for offering those and for sharing those with us. And here's a small token of our appreciation to you. May you continue to inspire us. And, you know, we are trying and listening our best. So
thank you so much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, all the translators. Sorry, I forgot about the translators. So sorry. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And also too, you'll be doing a talk for Shantideva Center on January 23rd, I hear. So more talks coming from you, Osel, through Zoom. So we will be in touch and see you soon there, and also through Tara Center in February. So hopefully we can all see each other again soon, and we will do some dedications here, if I can. I see the prayers for His Holiness to the long life. Would you like to lead in Tibetan, or should we do in English? What do you think?
As you wish, as you wish.
Okay. We can do in English. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech. May all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Do the long life prayer for our precious Guru Lama Zopa Rinpoche, you who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjutanat's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplish magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of ourselves, others, your disciples, please, please live long. And if we may also say the long life prayer for you, Tenzin Osel Hita, so you continue to inspire us and teach and continue to help us know our minds. And so, Venerable One, to you whose kindness exceeds that of all the conquerors for those wanderers in far off places, especially the West. Mindful of your loving concern for us and intentionally descending again into a family of a far distant land, we make this request. Lama, please, please live long.
And I just wanted to follow up, finishing that. Sorry if I made any mistakes that I'm learning, and please correct me if I make any mistakes, and if I created any doubts or extra misunderstandings, and please get back to me and I'll try to clarify. So thank you for trusting me.
Thank you so much. And maybe we can even unmute to everyone. Cecilia, that's so I can say goodbye. If anybody would like to say anything.
Yeah, thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Obrigada.
Thank
Muito obrigada.
Obrigada, Osel.
Gracias, muchas gracias, Osel.
Gracias.
Gracias, Osel.
Gracias.
Obrigada, muito obrigada.
Namaste.
Chao.
Y a ti te conoces.
Christopoli. Beaucoup.
Felicity, nice to see you. Oh, so nice to have you, Songa. Thank you so much.
Valeu, Osel, valeu.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Osel.
Ciao,
Thank you from
grazie.
Brazil. Thank you.
Ciao, grazie.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Gracias, Osel. Gracias. Gracias.
Chao,
gracias, buenas
No sé si está Marisa.
Muchas gracias.
Antes la hemos visto. ¿Quién participantes fueron?
On sort. Tu veux
205. Pero está ordenado por
Il est
ordenador.
parti, mais tu peux voir qui est-ce qui était là.
Esto no lo sé.
Oui, il y a Alfred là.
Ordenado por ordenador. Pero no está Marisa. A lo mejor está cuando son nombres. No lo sé. ¿Y yo estoy? Tú sí, claro.
Gracias.
No, pero de broma, no me veo.
Chao, Osel.
Hola,
Pero no le podemos hablar.
Vamos con él, ¿no?
Bueno.